What's going on, guys? It is Monday, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about tonight. I'm meteorologist Jonathan Kegges back with you. News 6 Weather Live at 9:30. Hope you sticking around from News 6 tonight with Lisa and Ginger tonight. They had some great stuff on the show talking about the flooding, unfortunately, across Central Florida yesterday. We're going to get all into that. Plus, we're going to look in depth about Melissa. Really couldn't talk a lot about Melissa tonight on the television because we had heavy rain, we had thunderstorms along the cold front that came through or is coming through that's going to give us our dry weather back and our nice weather back. So things are going to be changing again for the positive over the next couple of days. Hope you're doing well tonight. Post in the comments where you're tuning in from. I will do my best to get to them. I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to get to a lot of them tonight because we have so much going on this evening, but hope everybody's doing well. Melissa, what's going on? Elizabeth, good to see you. Sue, what's up? Travel, what's going on, my friend? Jody, what's going on? I'm inundated with the email with storm reports and all that stuff, and so busy. So I'll try my best to go through there. But it's been a wild day in the weather department. It's been a wild weekend as we were tracking this. These are wild rainfall totals, just insane. Eustis came in with 19 inches of rain last night. This really started yesterday evening at around dinner time. And then by 9, 10, and by 10, 11 o'clock, so in about 6 hours, we got 19 inches of rain in Eustis. Mount Dora, nearly 18. Port St. John and Brevard County, we had two kind of spots. I'll show you the map in a second. But just wild. Titusville picked up about 14 and a half inches. Port Canaveral, we had about 14 and a half inches as well. Just wild. Here are the two big bullseyes across Central Florida. And you see there that we just have that kind of white and purple shaded area. That's where we got all of the heavy rain. Certainly, it's not the only spot, but you can clearly see where you have the purple and the white, that is where we had the heaviest amount of rain that goes for a lot of West Orange County, Eustis, Mount Dora, Umatilla, even extending into DeLand, Titusville, South Mims, Rockledge. Crazy, crazy stuff yesterday. A lot of people were asking, how can we get something like this where we don't have a hurricane and we just got all of this rain? Well, here was the setup that came through Sunday afternoon. And basically, it's because of this warm front. So we talked about last week that you would likely feel more humidity Sunday and Monday before we have that drop and that big chill that's coming in for Halloween and really, really mid to late week and then into November. So as this front surged north, it brought back a ton of moisture for the atmosphere, for thunderstorms to play with. We were way abnormally moist. I know everybody hates that word, but the atmosphere was juiced way above where it should be for the latter stages of October. We had this front slide through. So not only did it bring that tropical air mass back in, that was also the trigger mechanism for those thunderstorms that developed from about Brevard County through Orange County, part of Seminole, and then certainly Lake. So when that trigger happened, we got those storms to fire, and then there was really nowhere else for them to go. The upper level winds were not strong, so they just kind of sat there. So now we have efficient rainfall producing storms firing along this front that aren't moving. And now we also have training thunderstorms. So just like trains on a track, how the cars are kind of all behind one another on the track, that front acted like a pathway to help to fire more thunderstorms building off one another. And it allowed for the downpours to just kind of be reinvigorated and everything like that. So it was kind of like a perfect storm coming together where we had that warm front bringing back that tropical moisture. And then we had the front also acting as that trigger mechanism to go forward there. And then again, that brought us all of this just terrible, terrible rain across Central Florida. It wasn't a ton in New Smyrna Beach, 2 to 4 inches, 2.3 inches in the rain gauge in New Smyrna for the storm. I mean, the big stuff was way, way out here. And again, those radar estimates actually doing fairly well because we had anywhere from 16 to 19 inches. And there's a radar estimate of about 17. So Titusville, Merritt Island, more than a foot of rain as well. So just crazy stuff across parts of Central Florida yesterday. None of this, by the way, is from Melissa, the hurricane. None of this is from the hurricane. This is actually, though, the same system that is going to keep Melissa away from Florida. So this cold front that's moving through as we speak is going to send Melissa packing. Let me get to my big picture weather setup right there. So there's the hurricane, and there's the cold front. So that's going to start to enact that northeast turn toward Jamaica. And we are going to get all into that through the course of this video. But that is the system that is pushing it away. Want to touch quickly that we do have some flooding issues. Obviously, we had the flash flood yesterday, but now the slower rise along the St. John's is going to be likely. So if anybody's living in Astor or Sanford, DeLand, in Geneva, above Lake Harney, the St. John's River expected to get into minor flood stage at all of those parts over the next couple of days and towards the end of this work week. We're going to be in major flood stage again in Astor, and that flood might take even a little bit longer to come into fruition as all that water is moving from south to north. That slow-moving deal. So unfortunately for our friends in Astor, we are back in the thick of it and back into moderate flood stage. Okay, we are going to get all into this. You really don't need words to describe what's going on right now. This is awful. If you were with us a little bit ago, I'll show you some Hurricane Hunter video of what this looks like in just 1 second. But holy cow. This is a Category 5 storm. Not even close. It is still crawling to the northwest at about 2 miles an hour. The pressure, it's actually up a little bit. I think it was at 906. Now it's 909. The wind speeds, these are sustained winds of 175 miles an hour. It's crazy. And you see here where that pink kind of band goes around. It is, it might try to do something else again. It might try to strengthen further. Let me see if I can add the lightning tracker to this and see if we can get how many lightning strikes are in that thing. So there you go. Look at all the lightning in there. When you see lightning in the eye, it's mean because typically you don't get that there. Because we're in a tropical air mass. And look, we're zoomed into this thing. It's just bobbling and bobbling and bobbling. Like it's not even moving. And again, this is what these poor people of Jamaica are going to have to deal with, really for a multi-day event starting, right now, and then really those conditions go downhill early tomorrow. Just no words. Alrighty, guys, I have to get my first break in. So I'll be back in about 3 minutes, but we're going to talk much more about Melissa when it comes to where it's going after this and just kind of some of the things that Jamaica likely is going to experience over the next, unfortunately, couple of days. See you in 3 minutes. Welcome back, guys. Meteorologist Jonathan Kegges back with you. Post in the comments where you're tuning in from tonight. We're going to have I'm going to try anyway, 10 o'clock tonight or 10:30 in between the 10 and the 11. Have more live coverage on Hurricane Melissa on our other YouTube page at @just_weather. Just weather. Over there, we're going to go a little more in depth too, because I only have about 15 more minutes and then I have to run because we're going to be at the top of News 6 at 10, which, by the way, if you're in Central Florida and are interested in that, keep it parked right here on News 6 Plus. If you're on YouTube, it's going to be a different thumbnail, but on the same channel, all that stuff. Okay, I want to show you something really, really cool. Of course, this is going to be a devastating hurricane, but something that always just is mind-blowing is when the hurricane hunters go into these things and they punch through the eye wall and you see the stadium effect. So this is from the Air Force Hurricane Hunters, and look at it. They're in the eye of Melissa right now, and just look how high. They call this the stadium effect because it looks like you're in a stadium. There's blue sky above it. They just flew through unbelievable weather, and now they're dealing with calm winds, and yeah, it's crazy. So that's the stadium effect. This was Melissa from earlier. Obviously, Category 5 hurricane, maximum sustained winds now of 175 miles per hour as it works toward Jamaica. But just, it would be insane to actually witness this in person. I mean, that wall there is just so incredibly high. Here is the latest again on the storm itself. A 175 mile per hour Category 5 hurricane, one of the strongest on record here. It has an opportunity to get a little stronger at that. The pressure did come up a little bit, 909. Let me see if we have any kind of hurricane hunter. I know we have some on the way, but let's see if we have any. If I can pull that up. Latest forecast when it comes to Melissa. I mean, not much has changed. Still looks like, again, the western side of Jamaica, and likely before 8 o'clock in the morning, it is supposed to pick up speed a little bit. That's because of the front that's coming through Florida as we speak. That line right there would mark 8 o'clock on Tuesday morning, so tomorrow morning, and there it is. Expected to make landfall as a 165 mile per hour Category 5 hurricane. The strongest landfalls in the Atlantic Basin, by the way, and I mean, we're going to be on record watch for that if, depending upon what the Air Force, what the hurricane hunters find, what the recon mission finds. But the strongest hurricanes to ever make landfall in the Atlantic Basin, I'll leave it up to the chat. Does anybody know? There are two tied for first. Strongest hurricane landfall in terms of wind speed. If you know it, post it in the chat. You don't have to give the location, but if you have the location, that's bonus points. Paul mentioned it. We talked about this at News 6 on News 6 tonight. It's one of the driest eyes on record. When you get these big, powerful hurricanes, you get a lot of sinking air in the middle. That's what creates the eye. When air sinks, it warms up, it dries out. And this was one of the strongest or the driest eyes ever seen by hurricane hunter reconnaissance missions. So it's just telling to what this thing is doing. And the point that Paul made was it looks like a Pacific typhoon. And it does. It looks a lot like Dorian did. Hint, hint. Okay, Paul says Allen in 1980. That is the strongest hurricane in the Atlantic Basin in terms of wind speed ever. That was 190 mile per hour wind speed, but Allen did not make landfall. So the caveat to that question is strongest hurricane at landfall. So I'm looking for, there are two tied for number one. And I actually just said one of them, if you were paying attention, um, when I said that this hurricane looks a lot like one of those hurricanes. Um, it was actually just a few years ago, not that long ago. But it looks more like a Pacific typhoon because typically we don't get these compact disc looking things where it looks like a straight up CD. I mean, it's completely rounded off. It's breathing on all fronts. Its outflow is another thing. It extends way out here. Um, I mean, just look at it. It's crazy. All right. So Corey Don has one of them. Hurricane Dorian, Category 5 landfall, 185 miles an hour on Grand Bahama Island. So that is one. And Lee has the second one correct. He says Labor Day 1935 in Florida. So Dorian and the Labor Day hurricane of 1935 have the record in the Atlantic Basin for strongest storm at landfall. It's at 185 miles an hour. Dorian, of course, was in the Bahamas. And the Labor Day hurricane was through the Keys, and just a wild, wild storm. I mean, I can only imagine just looking at some of the surface charts from way back in the day. I was not around in 1935. But I remember watching Dorian. I mean, it parked over Grand Bahama Island for like right here and just spun there. So those are the two strongest. Let's hope we don't have a rival. But I mean, it's gonna rival it whether it gets there or not. And it's just crazy. I mean, you can sit here and look at this loop for hours and just, I mean, it just when you feel powerless because of those poor people that couldn't get off the island. The worst of the storm, if there's a, I guess, positive that it's like the core is going to miss Kingston. Still though, that's hurricane force winds and and 30 to 40 inches of rain coming in. So it's just going to be devastating. Alrighty, guys, I have to get my second break in. If you have any questions, post those in the chat. I will do my best to answer them in just 2 minutes. 3 minutes, I guess. Alrighty, guys. I have about a minute left. I have to get down, get early, leave early tonight because I'm starting off at the top of the 10 o'clock and have to run from our streaming center to the actual studio to get ready, so I don't miss my time frame there to talk about the rain in Central Florida. Again, we're watching for a landfall, likely sometime late tomorrow morning. If it's on the slower side of guidance, then early tomorrow afternoon is what we're going to expect at the very, very latest, sometime in the central to western Jamaica area, depending upon where it's going through. Oh, she is looking through the comments. Yeah, it depends upon like the whole island of Jamaica is going to just, I mean, you're talking on the east side, closer to Kingston, 30 to 40 inches of rain. And then on the west side, you're talking 160-mile-per-hour winds. It's sustained right now at 175. Again, just talking out loud there, but that's where it could come in with the maximum sustained winds uh, at landfall. Plus, it does not encounter the gusts. Look at the thunderstorms. All this bright pink color here. That's a nasty outer band that's trying to spiral through. Yeah, and Rick brings up a good point there. There's the wobble. And you see how it's kind of like a weird shape too. It's not circular. The strongest hurricanes wobble like that. I mean, there's so much going on now in the center. There's just like bouncing all over the place. But when you get the kind of like oblong shape there, those are mesovortices that we can't see here because we don't have the visible satellite at this time. But there's a lot of different swirls in there. So all of that's contributing to just the intensity of this thing, and just everything has the presentation of a, obviously very powerful hurricane. Alrighty, guys, I have to run to get ready for the 10 o'clock news. We're going to talk much more about the flooding in Central Florida coming up at News 6 at 10. We'll have much more on Melissa on the Just Weather channel coming up at 10:30 at night. I put our live stream link in the chat if you're watching here to keep the loop going through to see the latest changes with Melissa through the overnight. If you're interested in that, click on that. And we'll have the latest on both Melissa and the flooding with the 11 o'clock advisory coming out on News 6 at 11 on the TV side of things. Thank you guys a ton for tuning in. Hope everybody's okay after the flooding in Central Florida last night. And we're thinking about our friends in Jamaica as they get ready to ride out Category 5 Hurricane Melissa. I'll see you guys tomorrow night, same time, 9:30. You're awesome. Be safe.